Hey, what's up? This is Ben with WODprep, and today I'm going to share the ultimate double under tutorial. So in this video, I'm going to give you a double under tutorial that covers all of the major mistakes that most double underers make. So if you're someone who can already do a few double unders, but you just can't seem to break into 50 and 100 plus unbroken, then this is the video for you. If you're someone who's looking to get your first double under, you're gonna learn a lot from this video, but I would suggest actually checking out some of our other step-by-step tutorials that teach you how to get your first double under and how to get multiple unbroken. We have a video called Double Under's 7-Step Progression. Make sure you check that out. But if you're someone who's looking to finally take their double unders, they might have a few and they want to take it to the next level, then this double under tutorial is for you. Also, if you are someone who's interested in getting to the next level, whether you're a beginner or an advanced athlete, make sure you go to wodprep.com/double unders, where you can find a completely free double under training guide where we will guide you through the process of increasing your double under number. But first, let's dig into it. So the first mistake that I want to talk about in this tutorial is what I call the arm lift. So it sounds really simple, but it's something a lot of people miss. If your rope is not clicking the ground, you are going to make mistakes. If you have a very small margin for error, then the chances of you making errors and tripping on the rope are much higher. You don't want that. So what I tell people is you should always hear the rope clicking the ground. Most of the time, people will start doing double unders and you can actually hear that happening. You can hear the rope clicking the ground. But as you get more tense, as you get more excited in your set of double unders, your hands might start to spread. When your hands spread, the rope will lift off the ground, it's gonna lose contact, AKA you won't be able to hear the clicking, and then you're going to make a mistake. So let's wrap this all into one coaching point. That is, keep your arms down and make sure you can hear the rope. If you can hear the rope clicking the ground, then chances are you're not having a major fault of an arm lift, or even if you are, your rope is long enough to compensate for the lifting of your arm. So it's really important that your rope is barely clicking that ground for each rep that you do. So every double under, you should hear 2 distinct clicks from the rope on the ground. If you're struggling with arm lift, one thing that you can do is use a band and wrap the band around your body. I call these banded double unders or just banded jump ropes, where you can band your arms and keep your arms by your side. So if your elbows are getting away from your body, keep those elbows tucked in tight. Another cue that you can use is simply holding a knee sleeve underneath your armpit on each side, or a towel or a t-shirt or something like that. Just do something that keeps your upper arm in by your torso. The next major fault that I want to talk about is number 2, the lopsided spin. So maybe you're someone who's not having any troubles getting the rope to click the ground each rep, but you can't figure it out. You keep tripping after 6 or 7 reps and you're just pulling your hair out. You can't figure it out. Well, I'm challenging you to film yourself from the front or watch yourself in a mirror do double unders. You might be struggling with what I call the lopsided spin fault. So what's happening here is everything might be perfect. You might have the right rope, you might have the right speed, you might have the right jump, everything is going fine, the rope is clicking the ground, but all you're doing is just slightly moving one hand higher than the other, or you might be pushing one hand lower than the other. It's the same thing. And what happens is that rope, when it's making that perfect parabola shape, it just shifts to one side, and then all of a sudden you are tripping and you can't figure out why. You'll notice this if you're someone who tends to feel the rope hit the same shoe every single time. Here's how we can fix it. Number 1, just simply being conscious of the fact that you're spinning lopsided will tend to fix the issue. If you can't figure out how to fix it just beyond paying attention to the fault, watch yourself in the mirror, and then you might think you're jumping perfectly symmetrical, but what's actually happening is you're jumping like this. So what you need to do is think about pushing that one arm that's higher, push it down. So you might think you're lopsided at that point, but when in reality, if you look yourself in the mirror or if you watch yourself on slow motion, you'll actually bring those hands back to equilibrium so that that rope is gonna spin around your body properly. So even though it feels weird, if you find one arm higher than the next, whether it's your left, your right, it doesn't matter. Push that higher arm down and consciously think about it. In fact, you can even hold one towel underneath your arm, just like we did for the arm lift fault. Hold one towel or knee sleeve underneath your arm. That kind of glues that arm down to make sure that you're not lifting it up too high. So regardless, watch yourself on video, watch yourself in the mirror, have someone else film you, do something that shows you where that rope is spinning. When you film yourself, it's really important that you film in slow motion against some sort of high contrast background. You'll see in this video, I'm using a black jump rope on a white background, so it's really easy to see the outline of the rope, and you can tell when it's being pushed to one side or the other. And also a telltale sign is where my hands are positioned. If I draw a straight line across and one hand is higher than the other, obviously you're gonna have some issues with being lopsided. The third fault that I want to talk about in this double under tutorial is the overspin fault. Most people, when they think double unders, they think speed. They think fast, fast, fast. I need to spin the rope as fast as humanly possible. Incorrect. Don't want to do that. A common issue that I see with a lot of people is they get this super duper fast jump rope and they spin as fast as they humanly can, and then they trip and they trip and they trip and they trip. Now, if you watch the footage, if you watch yourself on slow motion, especially from the side angle this time, you might actually notice you're doing more spins than you need to. So maybe you're spinning 2.2 times every single time you jump in the air. Well, what happens is that eventually 2.2 turns into 2.5, which makes you trip. So basically, I'm spinning just over what I need to be spinning, and what happens is after a few reps, you will trip on the rope. So this is another common case for those of you who are doing, let's say 5, 10, maybe even 15 in a row, and you can't figure out what's causing you to trip on that 15th or 16th rep. Well, chances are you might have a slight timing issue and you might be overspinning the rope. There's a couple ways that we can fix that. Number one, you can go with a slightly heavier jump rope. We have a full tutorial about why heavy jump ropes are a good fit for you. You can always just go in the search bar and type in WODprep heavy jump rope and you'll find it. If not, we'll make sure to include a link in the description below. But if you don't have a heavier jump rope, then you might actually be overspinning because your rope is just too fast. A lot of people will get the fastest jump rope in the world and spin it as fast as possible, and they don't understand why they keep tripping. Well, spoiler alert, you're going too fast. So an easy way to slow it down is to just change your equipment. Get a slightly heavier cabled rope. You won't be able to spin it nearly as quick. You might not use it in your competitions 3 years down the road, but I promise you, as you're trying to tighten up your double unders and hit 50 plus unbroken right now, going to a slightly heavier jump rope will really help things out. I personally like a rope that's anywhere in the 2.5 to 5 ounce range. We actually have a couple weighted ropes in the WODprep jump rope set. You can find a link below. In the WODprep jump rope set, we actually have a 5 ounce rope that does a really good job of forcing people to slow down that spin, and it helps get their timing right. Eventually, you're going to get your timing, everything will click into place, and then no matter what weight of your rope, no matter how fast or slow it is, you're going to be able to adjust your jump and your spin timing so that you're doing 2 spins every single time, no matter what, and you don't have to worry about going a little bit quicker than you should. Number 4, here's a really common fault that I want to share in this double under tutorial, and that is the bad jump. This is very common. A lot of people know that they struggle with it, but for whatever reason, they refuse to fix it. So if you're someone who's hitting maybe 10, 15, 20 reps in a row, but you can't break into that 50 plus or 100 plus threshold that you're looking for, it's probably because you just have an inefficient jump. You might be donkey kicking, you might be piking, you might be doing some sort of super fast jump and you're kind of erratic and all over the place. The bottom line is we want to focus our efforts and develop what I like to call a pogo stick jump. So a pogo stick jump is where I'm slowly and controlled jumping straight up and down. When I'm in the air, I have a slight bend in the knees and my toes are pointed down at the ground, which is a perfect position for me to land and absorb the impact of my landing and spring right back up without any pauses or anything crazy going on with my feet. You can see here, this is a pogo stick jump. It should look directly like your single under. So when I'm doing big single unders, the difference between that and a double under is nothing. you should be doing the same jump every single time, not doing anything crazy with your feet, kicking, spinning, twirling, jumping forward, jumping backwards. None of that should happen. You should jump straight up and down, just like a pogo stick. One thing that you can do to help yourself out and develop this is to practice what I call big singles, and 2, you can also do penguin claps. So we have a really popular video, again, that'll be in the description below, or you might even be able to find it in the sidebar, where we talk about the penguin clap being the most effective drill for double under beginners, and this is still the case if you're struggling to string together big sets of unbroken reps. If you have anything funky going on with your jump, then chances are you need to get back to those penguin claps and force yourself to keep a nice, strong, bold, upright chest posture, keep that head pointed forward, and make sure that you're jumping straight up and down like a pogo stick, not doing any of those faults that we mentioned earlier. Number 5, this is the last tip of this double under tutorial, and that is you got the wrong rope. So there's a few instances that people struggle with here, and that is number 1, you don't own a jump rope. It infuriates me when people are working on their double unders and they just come into the gym and they grab a jump rope off the rack and can't figure out why some days they have double unders and others they don't. Spoiler alert, if you try to drive a different car every time you need to go for a drive, it's going to be challenging to develop good driving habits. It's going to be challenging to go from a stick shift to an automatic, to a Ferrari, to a minivan. Ford Windstar, shout out, that was my first car. What's your first car? Leave it in the comment below. So if you're someone who changes what kind of vehicle you're driving on an everyday basis, it's gonna be really hard to learn how to drive the vehicle and to do a good job and to not crash and all those things. Well, that analogy carries over to your double unders. If you're someone who's constantly changing the length, the weight, the handles, everything about your rope is changing. Sometimes your rope has the full coating on it. Other times it's been beaten to crap and you got wires all frayed up that are gonna, scrape your arms and hit you in the eye and stuff like that. Come on, invest, even if it's just $20 into a good jump rope. Again, we have a video all about jump ropes that are good fits that we personally recommend. We have a couple more expensive options like the WODprep rope, and then we have a couple cheaper options like the WOD Nation rope. All of them are great options. You just need to get yourself your own jump rope so that you can find the right size, the right weight, and to make sure that you feel comfortable. So that's gonna help reduce the learning curve, and it's going to increase your double under capacity. Next, if you already have your own rope, then chances are you need to play around with either the length of the rope to make sure that you're obeying command number 1, which is you hear the rope clicking the ground. Number 2, you wanna make sure that the rope isn't slapping the ground and bouncing back up. So there's a very fine line between having the right length rope. Again, that's all covered in our other video. And then you also wanna make sure that your rope is heavy enough or light enough to get you 2 spins every time. So we just talked about how it's easy to overspin. Well, depending on the kind of rope you have, if the cable's really light and you can't feel it, you might actually be underspinning the rope. It's a little less common, but it does happen, especially if you have the El Cheapo rope from Amazon that costs like $4, then you might actually not be spinning it fast enough because you can't get tension on the cable. So the moral of the story is invest in a good jump rope, follow all the other steps and all the other tips that I gave in this double under tutorial, and you will see success and you'll finally break through that barrier, whether it's 5, 10, 15, 20 reps. You're finally gonna get to 50 plus unbroken every single time. That, in my opinion, should be the goal of every RX CrossFit athlete. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you liked it, thumbs down. If you thought these tips were lame, be sure to check out our other videos. They should be in the sidebar or in the comments below, and we'll also give you a couple tips at the end of this video. Make sure you let me know, what's the first car you ever drove? What was your first whip? Leave it in the comments below. Make sure you hit subscribe, and don't forget to go to wodprep.com/double unders if you want the ultimate guide to double unders, where we'll teach you step by step how to learn 50 plus unbroken double unders once and for all. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.